Greetings, San Marcos Unified families. We are here to share some information with you about our SMUSD resources for our English learner and multilingual students. To begin, let's review how English learners are identified in the state of California. When students enter a California public school for the first time, the school district uses a home language survey as part of the enrollment paperwork to determine a student's primary language. This survey is completed by the parents or guardians at the time the student is first enrolled. A student who speaks a language other than English in the home is given the English Language Proficiency Assessments for California, also known as ELPACT, to determine the student's level of English. You might be wondering what the purpose of ELPACT is. The purpose of this assessment is, first, to identify our students who have limited English language skills and qualify as Limited English Proficient, or LEP. Next, to determine the LEP student's English language proficiency level. And third, to assess the progress of LEP students in acquiring the skills of listening, reading, speaking, and writing in English. One question we often hear is, what does it mean if my child is an English learner? If a student does not yet speak and understand English at a level where they can fully participate in regular instruction taught in English, they should be classified as an English learner, or an EL. California law requires that school districts provide English learners with additional services to help them gain fluency in English while moving forward with everything else they need to learn. It is important to realize that English proficiency isn't something that should need to happen before students can access all of the other content, such as science, literature, math, history, art, and all of the rest of the subjects that their school provides. One of the overarching policies that guides our work in San Marcos Unified with our English learners is the California English Learner Roadmap. On July 12, 2017, the California State Board of Education unanimously approved a new policy for English learners called the California English Learner Roadmap, Educational Programs and Services for English Learners. The state vision for our English Learner Roadmap is that English learners fully and meaningfully access and participate in a 21st century education from early childhood through grade 12 that results in their attaining high levels of English proficiency, mastery of grade level standards, and opportunities to develop proficiency in multiple languages. Our California schools affirm, welcome, and respond to a diverse range of English learner strengths, needs, and identities. California schools prepare graduates with the linguistic, academic, social skills, and competencies they require for college, career, and civic participation in a global, diverse, and multilingual world, thus ensuring a thriving future for California. The principles of the EL roadmap that guide our work here in San Marcos are that we recognize assets-oriented and needs-responsive schools, intellectual quality of instruction and meaningful access for our English learners, system conditions that support effectiveness, and alignment and articulation within and across our systems. You may have heard the term ELD, but may be wondering, what is English Language Development or ELD support? If your child is learning English as a second language, one of the most important aspects of their education will include instruction to help reach proficiency in English across 4 different domains: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. This instruction is called English Language Development, or ELD. There are 2 types of ELD instruction that occur throughout your student's day: designated ELD and integrated ELD. Let's discuss what designated ELD looks like in your child's school day. Designated ELD is a protected time during the regular school day when teachers provide lessons for English learners to develop English language proficiency. The overall goal of ELD instruction is for students to learn English at the level of a native speaker. In school settings, ELD instruction focuses on English learners developing the language skills needed to learn content taught in English and to be able to express their content knowledge in English. The second form of English language development that your student will receive in school is called integrated ELD. Integrated ELD refers to teachers providing language clarification and language acquisition support during regular content area lessons. The goal for integrated ELD is for English learners to learn the content and academic language used in each lesson. Learning objectives for integrated ELD lessons come directly from the content standards of the lesson being taught, such as English language arts, mathematics, history, social studies, and science. The learning objectives for ELD come from the California State ELD framework and are aligned to the Common Core state standards. Let's take a moment to talk a little bit about English language arts. In elementary school, your students will also have English language arts, or ELA, instruction every day. ELA standards do not teach students to speak English. The standards at the primary grades focus mostly on teaching students how to read in English. ELA standards teach learning to read through phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary development, and reading comprehension lessons. Around 3rd grade, the standards switch from learning how to read to reading to learn. Students will analyze narrative, informational, and persuasive text through the 12th grade. In addition to reading, students are taught writing, starting with penmanship, followed by writing sentences, paragraphs, and finally, essays. You may be wondering what math lessons will look like for your child. Math lessons also need language support. The objectives contain many vocabulary concepts that need to be taught to students. Current math testing is very text-based, with more word problems and mathematics vocabulary. It's critical that mathematics lessons include language support and vocabulary development. The concepts covered during ELD time depend on the English proficiency levels of the students and not their grade levels. The concepts taught in ELD classrooms are the same for a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, or even an adult if they are at the same ELD proficiency level. For example, all emerging English learners would be taught phonemic awareness and phonics because they need to learn the connection between the sounds and letters of English. Integrated ELD means supporting language used during daily content area lessons, so English learners can learn grade level content. Designated ELD is English language instruction that's in addition to daily content area lessons. Although educational ELD standards focus on developing academic language used at school, the overall goal is for students to advance their language proficiency to the level of a native English speaker. Another question we often hear is, what is reclassification? English learner status should be temporary. Reclassification means that the student has gained command of English and is no longer categorized as an English learner in need of extra support. In San Marcos Unified, we will begin to recommend students for reclassification in the fall of each year based on student progress at the end of the previous school year. How do we know when a student is ready for reclassification? The state of California requires that every school district decide whether to reclassify students based on 4 different criteria. The first is results from the LPAC, which all English learners retake every year in the spring. The overall LPAC score must be a 4 in order for students to reclassify. The second criteria is a test of basic skills. In San Marcos Unified, we use local district assessments, including iReady, as well as our Lexile reading test. The third criteria is teacher recommendations. Teachers will observe students and make recommendations based on their progress in listening, speaking, reading, and writing in English. And last but not least, parent opinion and consultation. It's very important that parents and guardians are involved in the reclassification process and have conversations with school staff around their students' progress. How long should it take for a student to reclassify? The ideal timeline for a student will depend on when they began the program and their level of English proficiency when they started. California considers students long-term English learners if they have been in the system for 6 years or more, are not making progress towards fluency, and are struggling academically. The most important part of this presentation is helping you to understand the school supports available for your child. San Marcos Unified School District staff will work with your student to assist him or her to graduate with the skills and experience that he or she needs to succeed in college and beyond. Our district will ensure that your student is learning English at a reasonable pace, but also that he or she has access to a strong education while doing so. You may be wondering what you can do to support your child. First, stay informed. We hope that by understanding the basics of reclassification, as outlined here, you'll be able to effectively communicate with your child's school and work together with teachers and school staff to support his or her success. Next, encourage your child to continue developing their primary or home language. Growing up multilingual in a global economy is advantageous. Encourage your child to read at home daily. This could be a book, graphic novel, newspaper article, technical manual, anything, as long as it is interesting to your child. You can also encourage your child to use academic vocabulary when explaining what they learned in school. Encourage them to keep a vocabulary journal. Ask them to explain the vocabulary term in their own words or primary language. And if students are reading a text, ask them questions about it. Another important way that you can help to support your student is to join your school's English Learner Advisory Committee, also known as ELAC. The English Learner Advisory Committee is a committee developed to advise the school about programs for English learner students. ELAC advises the school site council in the development of a school plan for student achievement and makes recommendations to the principal and school staff about services, supports, and programs for English learner students. It's a great way to get involved in your school's community and to stay informed. By joining your school's ELAC, you will be able to have input and help to make important decisions as to which are the best programs for English learner students. You will also help your school community raise awareness among parents of the importance of regular school attendance. ELAC has a board and elects officers and sends at least one representative to our district English Learner Advisory Committee who helps to make decisions about services, supports, and programs for our English learner students district-wide. We also recommend that parents of our English learner and multilingual students get involved with our district English Learner Advisory Committee. This committee consists of a group formed by ELAC representatives from each school within our district. Our meetings are held monthly and are open to the public, so we encourage you to join us to learn not only about EL programs, supports, and services, but also to learn about federal and state policies regarding the education of our students. Our San Marcos Unified Community wants you all to know that we are so thankful that you are a part of our district, and we feel very grateful to work with both you and your students. We are partners in your child's success and are here to support you and your student every step of the way. Thank you.